Hi, everybody. I am Jessica Radloff. I am the West Coast editor at Glamour, and I am so thrilled that you all could be joining us today for the SAG-AFTRA Foundation Conversations at Home. Before we start, I just want to say that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is currently operating a COVID-19 disaster fund, which covers members in an emergency financial crisis related to COVID-19. For more info, you can go to SAG-AFTRA.foundation/assistance/disaster relief, or you can just go to the SAG-AFTRA website, and of course that will direct you to where you need to go. Now, with that said, I am so very happy to welcome a very talented actor, singer, songwriter. I really mean that. I have one of her songs currently playing in my car right now, no joke, and executive producer who has built the most impressive resume and a huge fandom with films like Romeo and Juliet, Begin Again, Pitch Perfect, The Edge of 17, and she's an Oscar nominee for her role in True Grit. Fun fact also, her first TV credit was the sitcom Back to You, which was created by Modern Family's Steve Levitan and Christopher Lloyd. Fast forward to now, of course, and she is the star and EP of the critically acclaimed Apple TV Plus series Dickinson. In other words, kids, do not try this at home because this is very impressive. So without further ado, please welcome the insanely talented Hailee Steinfeld.
Wow, thank you so much.
How was that?
That was amazing. Thank you.
I really do feel like kids don't try this at home, because what you have accomplished is truly remarkable.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, of course. By the way, I love your background. Where are you at home, since we are doing all these conversations at home? What room is this?
This is actually a guest room, but the more time I spend in it, I'm like, I could live in here. I like this vibe. I like this wall. You know, I don't know why I haven't used it more often.
Well, I'm glad it's making its debut here and everything.
That's right.
I love it. Well, let's jump right into Dickinson, which I love. It is such a great series. How did this role challenge you?
Oh boy, in more ways than one, that's for sure. This was a project in general that I found to be very unique and very special. Therefore, I knew it was just, I mean, it was a challenge to begin with right off the bat. And that's why I knew that I, was going to love it and wanted to be a part of it. I loved that this was a show that is obviously a period piece, but told through a very modern lens in a very modern way. And somehow you watch this show and you forget sort of almost if you're, not paying too close attention to the fact that everybody's in corsets and top hats, you kind of lose track of what time period you're in. There are so many incredible relevant scenarios that we touch on that lend themselves to comedic moments and more dramatic moments. This show's got a little bit of everything, and it was a very interesting process finding the tone of it and finding how we were going to sort of pull off, just that comedic, dramatic, historical, modern show. So it was an all-around challenge, and obviously playing the role of a producer for the first time challenged me in ways I haven't been challenged before. So just when I thought I couldn't take anything else on, I proved myself wrong. So it was definitely a challenge altogether, but a really fun one at that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what did that mean to you the first time you saw executive producer Hailee Steinfeld in the credits? That must have been a really cool feeling.
It was. I will say, when I saw my first movie, True Grit, for the first time, I distinctly remember sitting. I mean, it was a very surreal and overwhelming situation to begin with. But I remember I was sat in my own row. My parents were right behind me. I was like, I gotta focus. I gotta I was 13, and I remember, the movie ended and the lights kind of came up and everybody kind of started to get up. And I sat there and I was so excited by the fact that I was like, I'd made friends with everybody, you know, in the credits. I'd never stayed till the end of the credits in any movie I'd ever seen. And I realized in that moment that it truly takes so many people to pull off something amazing. And I mean, not always, but you know, in this case, it did. And when I sort of took on that role of being a producer, I knew that it was, you know, going to require much more than just that going in front of my name. And I wanted it to, and I needed it to. And so when I did see that, having been a part of this show in a different way, or a part of this project in a different way than I'd ever been a part of any project in the past, it felt like a really wonderful accomplishment. And I'm so glad and honored that this was the first project I produced. I'm very proud of it.
Well, you should be, because it's really phenomenal. Like you said, there's so many parts, moving parts, that nobody has any idea about, that you learn. And I think, you know, they call it show business for a reason, because
Right.
it is a business. So having that expertise going in, you know, to the next project or going forward, you know, it's essential.
Totally. Absolutely.
I want to read you a quote that you said about playing Emily Dickinson, and I loved this so much, and I want to know how you relate personally. You said, "It's empowering to play this character who would stop at nothing to do whatever made her feel creatively alive as an artist." So how do you personally relate to something like that, that you would stop at nothing to feel that sense of just you're doing what you were meant to do?
Well, one thing I am incredibly grateful for is how much access I have and how much freedom I have to be able to do what I love. And whether that goes as far as being in my home and writing a song, writing something that I love and feel proud of, and I'm excited about, and somehow I get to then take that to another level. Or just strictly being on the set of a show like this and being able to really deliver and perform. You know, Emily didn't have the access or the freedom to do it, to do what she wanted to do. She created it, which I find so incredibly inspiring and motivating. And motivates me to do the same when I feel like I'm in a situation where somebody's telling me I can't do something, or somebody's telling me I can't get there unless I go here, or I can't do that unless I do this. And you know, I don't know, there are still moments that I have, and I'm sure I'll always have in my life and in my career, where that happens. And I don't know, I think being able to play characters like Emily Dickinson and truly just embody the spirit of that sort of fearless, you know, creative genius mind just kind of instills in me that I too can, you know, even more so now than she could. If she could pull off what she did in her time, then I have no excuses.
What did you know about her before you started getting involved with the project, and what was your research process like, since she is a real person?
I knew very little. I, you know, had come across her poetry in school, but it was a part of a greater, bigger picture that I wish wasn't. Her work deserves to be focused on and not just sort of, you know, overlooked. But yeah, I knew very little, and that's one thing I do love so much about what I do, is I'm either reintroduced or introduced to something I almost 100% of the time wish I had come across a lot sooner in my life. But thankfully, you know, this project brought her work into my life in a new and very exciting way. And you know, the research consisted of, I mean, what's so wonderful is, first of all, Elena Smith, our creator and writer, is like an Emily Dickinson encyclopedia. So I literally could call her at any point in time and be like, is that true? Is this true? Have you heard about this? Have you heard about that? And she just, like, it was crazy. She had all the facts. But I had, you know, endless access to her work and articles and facts that still remain unknown to be true. You know, there's the Emily Dickinson Museum, that me and my castmates were able to go to. You know, it was a really fun ride, and just kind of digging into her poetry mainly. Obviously, there have been pieces on her in film and television that have been done before, but we all kind of, well, I made the conscious decision to sort of stay away from that, because I knew we were, our story of this person was going to be different than anything anybody had seen before. And yeah, I wanted to make sure that it was fresh and, you know, for me and in my head, and there wasn't too much there other than, you know, what was real.
I'm so curious about this field trip to the Emily Dickinson Museum that you guys did. Is this in Massachusetts? Like, did you all just fly there together and go for a day? How did this come about?
It was, we went during season 2.
Which hasn't aired yet, by the way. We should.
Right. Am I not saying that?
No, that's fine. But I don't want people to think, season 2, gosh, where can I see that yet?
No, it hasn't aired yet, but we did try very hard during the filming of season 1 to you know, go out there, but we couldn't make it happen. So during season 2, we were able to. It was myself, Anna Barishnikov, Adrian Blake Insko, and Ella Hunt. We got in a car and we drove. And it was just an amazing experience. And it was actually quite cool. I was worried that I was going to get there and wish that I had gone sooner before we started season 1. But I actually couldn't have been happier that we went when we did, because I was able to sort of, I mean, it's so insane how similar our incredible team pulled off what we have, you know, in our show, how similar it is to the real thing. And I'm so glad that we were able to sort of make a home out of what we had before we sort of saw, and, you know, that we couldn't or didn't make comparisons, and there was none of that. It was just really awesome to go sort of when we did again, and see what we've created from what we know. And yeah, it was a wonderful experience. We spent the whole day out there, and it was kind of, you know, it was kind of surreal to be in this space, and just think about her energy is so, I mean, it's so there. And we all sort of had a moment where we looked at each other, and, you know, her desk is in the corner of her room, right where it is in our set. And our sets are so incredibly well done and well put together that you walk on set and, you know, you're in a soundstage, but the minute you step into the house or into, you know, Emily's bedroom, you feel her, you feel it. And it was wild to go there and be with them and feel it there too. It kind of really spoke to us. So it was a really fun day.
That is so cool. I just love hearing that. By the way, considering the time that we're in, if you were quarantining with Emily Dickinson, what would you want to ask her? What would you want to know?
Whoa. Damn. I would probably, I feel like I would just want to be a fly on the wall and just watch her. Is that weird?
Yeah.
I literally am in this room and I picture like a desk in the corner and me just being where I am right now and just watching her. I really do feel like she would thrive in quarantine. And yeah, I don't even know where to begin as far as what I would ask her.
But you're right. I do think that she would love quarantine because this is what she was used to. She was used to a lot of self-isolation and everything. So this would probably be the perfect fit, which I was going to ask too, what do you think she would say about your series? If she knew that a TV series was being made about her, especially one that is just so creatively fulfilling and freeing, I think, well, I don't want to answer for you, but I want to know what you would think she would say about it.
Well, first of all, I would hope that she would feel proud of it. I don't know. I think she'd dig it. It's pretty sick. And the music's great. I mean, she has just such an incredible, wild mind that we were able to sort of, you know, take her work and sort of, you know, I don't know, dig into what her perspective might have been when writing these. And
yeah.
I had a really cool moment when the show, right before the show came out, there were these incredible billboards all over New York City, and there were 2 major ones in Times Square. And it's so weird to me when I see that stuff. It's so wild. And it occurred to me that, like, that's Emily Dickinson in 2020 up on that, in the middle of Times Square. I mean, there had to have been points in her whole life. She lived her whole life. Nobody ever read her poetry when she was alive. Other than, a few exceptions. But to have had that moment and thinking like that, I did sort of, I don't necessarily think I know what she would say, but I think that was a pretty cool moment, just realizing that this was somebody that spent her entire life in a bedroom, hoping, going through waves of it, of course, but at moments wishing and hoping and just praying that the world would see her work and see her worth.
Right.
And there she was in the middle of Times Square, and this show was made, and it's a really special show with a really wonderful message. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, I think she would say it's dope.
Yeah, I love that. It's so true. There is such a special message to this, especially for women, about not living within these constraints that we, have grown up with, or that we've witnessed in the past. And like you said, I was so shocked to learn that so many of her poems were not published till after she died. I mean, that's just, I find it so sad, but in a way, it's so great that you are bringing this to life at this time and making it so relevant.
Thank you.
One thing that I found was so funny, your co-star, Jane Krakowski, was asked to fill in the blank to this particular question. And before I tell you what she said to it, I want to know what you would fill in the blank with, okay? So it starts off with, I can't, and this has to do with Dickinson. So on Dickinson, I can't believe I pulled off what? Blank. Fill that in. And then I'll tell you what Jane said. But I can't believe I pulled off.
Huh. Damn, I'm only thinking about what Jane might have said.
What do you think Jane might have said?
Here's the thing. I definitely know what she would say for season 2. So you have to ask her that for season 2, and I want to know if I got it right. Okay.
Okay.
Season 1, I'm not entirely sure what. For myself, I can't believe I pulled off. Oh my God. I don't know. Shit. I can't think of anything.
Okay, you want me to tell you what she said?
Tell me what she said.
Okay, she said she couldn't believe she pulled off wearing a corset for 13 hours a day.
Okay, here's the thing about that.
Yeah, tell me.
Same, but Jane was so incredible with these corsets. First of all, I would I got to a point where I had to loosen it up at lunch, and give myself a little breather in the middle of the day. Jane, she put that thing on in the morning, had 2 women pulling. I mean, they were on separate ends of the room pulling that corset. She was so incredible with it. Never heard her complain once, which was not the case for me. But she was ruthless with that, and just so amazing to see how committed she was, really. And all of us were really. I mean, I got to the point where I needed a little break, but that is a very true statement on her end.
I love that. By the way, I found out that you guys also took cooking and etiquette classes. Is that true? And if so, I need to know everything that entails. What kind of etiquette and cooking did you learn to do as it pertained to Dickinson?
So I didn't take a cooking class.
Okay.
Because she doesn't Emily has no interest in being in the kitchen.
Right.
Etiquette, on the other hand, this is actually quite funny. I was late to the etiquette class because we were in pre-production thing. I didn't just sleep in and show up late. That's not who I am, I promise. I was doing something else important, and I walked into this etiquette class a bit late, which you don't walk into an etiquette class late. So I was off to a rough start. And it was very awkward because I was literally it was just, I don't know. I much like Emily broke all the rules. I was whispering to the people across from me and next to me, I'm lost. What fork do I pick? We learned how to properly eat soup. which I guess I should have known there was a proper way to do that, but I have not followed that at all in my life. I do now, though, I will say. But yeah, just I can't really tell you how much I took away from that, because I wasn't really up to speed, and then it was over before I knew it. But in fairness, it kind of worked in my favor, so I'm mad about it.
I was going to say, when you said that you didn't have to take the cooking class because, of course, Emily has no interest in that.
Right.
I think it was episode 2 where you come downstairs and you have that like blanket or shawl thrown on you, and then the maid is there, and you throw the blanket on your head as you're eating like an apple or a piece of fruit, and you're like, this is why we hired a maid. I'm not cooking. And just your comedic timing and the way that you just do this so nonchalantly, it was just so funny. Your delivery is just impeccable.
Thank you so much.
No, it's so true. You're so fantastic. I also found out I was looking up all these interesting facts. Something that I found so interesting, and I guess I hadn't realized, is since you've mainly done film, this was the first time that you worked with multiple directors on a project. So tell me a little bit about that, and what did you learn as an actor from working with different people on the same project, but for different episodes?
Yeah, that was definitely, that took some getting used to for me, because I felt like right when I had a good thing going with someone, they were gone. And right when I felt like I was, getting a better understanding of what I was doing, and what we were discovering, the tone that we were trying to establish, that was with somebody who was then somebody else.
Right.
One thing I ended up really falling in love with was, once I figured out, and it kind of, it took a second, I think, for all of us, again, to kind of figure out what it was and what the tone was. And this is something that you read this script, and even in our table read, people were laughing. It was funny. People were laughing at things that you didn't necessarily think should be funny, but it had this really interesting, like you said, comedic timing to it, and touches on really relevant subjects and deeper subjects, funnier, there's a lot going on, especially within the first 2 episodes, that being with one director. So finding all of what that was took a second. But what I did end up falling in love with was that we got this new sort of fresh perspective on each episode. Kind of feels like a movie. And so it was fun to sort of dig into what a new take on a certain, scenario would be with a different voice, a different person. So yeah, it was weird at first. I didn't, I didn't think I was going to love it. I didn't love it, but then I ended up really loving it. Wonder what it's going to be like when I'm with one director for 3 months. I'm going to be like, when's the next one coming in?
Yeah. Is that how it was for season 2 as well, that you had a bunch of multiple directors? Was it a lot of the same directors, or was it even newer directors?
We had a few come back that we worked with on
Okay.
season 1. It's so weird. They like blur together in my mind now.
I'm sure.
But that was wonderful, of course, to have people that, know the show now and know exactly what the show is, and what we're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to get across, come back and dig in a little deeper with us. That was awesome. And again, mixed in with new wonderful directors that have, that are incredibly talented and just bring something new and fresh to the show every time.
Yeah, I'm also so interested in finding out. I love to ask actors this, is what is your process of learning the script and memorizing the lines? Because this role is so physical as well. Again, I go back to episode 2 when you dress up as a man and you want to hear the lecture, and you're putting on the clothes, and the top hat and the suits, and then you're running around campus. It's so physical. And then you have all these lines as well. So what is your process in order to feel like you have a handle on it, as fast as can be, since you do have so many roles on this show?
I try and get ahead of, as ahead of the game as possible, just as far as, you know, making it easier on myself when we get there. I love to, you know, once I get a script, um, that's all my life becomes until it's time to forget about it, leave it in my trailer. And, you know, one thing I sort of, I did a film called Edge of 17. What I was going to say a couple years ago. It's more than a couple years ago now, where I felt like for the first time, you know, I have always, my script becomes like my Bible. It's like, it's mine for me to see only. It's got every piece of my heart in there. It's like, I can't even read what's on the page because I've written over everything. It's kind of ridiculous. And I would always have that on me before it was always on me. And when I made Edge of 17, same thing with the script. That was, you know, my, you know, everything right on the paper. But the first day of shooting came along, and I left it behind, and I had trusted that I had done the work, and I kind of forgot everything, and just allowed myself to be really present. And I think since then I've been able to do that more and more. And with something like Dickinson, I was, you know, I mean, her work, Emily Dickinson's work can be very intimidating. And, you know, when it came to reading the poetry, it was tough for me to kind of leave that behind, but I felt like that was, you know, a good place to be. And it took a second to get there, but once I did, I felt like it was, you know, I don't know, it becomes more fun that way also, I think, not being so glued to, you know, like the facts, if you will, and just kind of allowing yourself to be free and present. And it also helps when you have wonderful actors around you to bring out the best in you.
Yeah, but you know what though? You have such a fearlessness about you, which I noticed through all the roles, and even through your singing and songwriting and now producing. You know, there is such a fearlessness in what you do. Where do you get that from, and how do you channel it into these roles, even if you feel anything but fearless? Where does that come from, and how has that helped you?
I think. I do think a bit of it, I would say, just has been instilled in me since I was a little girl by my parents, always believing in me and, you know, trusting me. I think a lot of it also has come from experience. And like I said, working with people that challenge me and bring out the best in me, and, you know, help me prove to myself I'm capable of more than I you know, might have originally thought. But yeah, I don't know. It's funny how you said, even in moments when I'm literally anything and everything but fearless, those moments occur a lot. And I find that, you know, every time I step on a set, I feel like it's the very first time and I have no idea what I'm doing and I don't belong. And this is like, so not, you know, I don't know. But I think that's one thing I love about what I do, is it's always different and constantly challenging me. And yeah, I don't know. It kind of forces you to be fearless, or at least for a minute, you know,
Yeah.
you make it.
I love it. I think Emily Dickinson would approve of that too. I think she would say
Right.
something very similar. Last thing for you, I love this so much. We did a Glamour video with you recently where we gathered a few of some of your biggest fans over a Zoom session to talk about one of your recent songs, I think I Love Yous,
Yes.
that had just come out, and they were there to talk about it, and they had no idea you were going to jump in the Zoom call to watch it with them, you know, dissect it with them. They loved it. So who would you love to jump in surprise on a Zoom call? Don't worry, there's nobody here.
Oh my God,
like,
who is it?
I know, but who would you love to have surprise you, that you would just want to soak up any and all information that they could give you?
Diane Keaton.
Oh, good one.
Yeah.
and why?
So many reasons. I mean, I other than just being a huge fan, she's such a graceful and elegant human, and just, I don't know, she's she's amazing. She's iconic. It's so funny because I feel like there are so many people, but that would happen and I would not know what to say or what to ask, even though I feel like, oh my God, all day long I could think about what I would want to ask these people, and
Right.
and they would happen and I would not even know where to start. But she is somebody that I do truly admire and look up to, and just love, again, like I said, how, I mean, wonderful she seems, and how, professional she is. And yeah, I don't know. Be a cool conversation, I think.
I love that. No, it was really cool to see those fans just light up when you came on
Awesome.
the screen, and just what an impact you've made on so many. And like I said, I can't get enough of you in this role in Dickinson, and congratulations on an amazing first season. I can't wait to see season 2 now.
Thank you.
Especially after you've taken your field trip. I would.
Right. It's a whole new energy.
It's a whole new world. Well, Hailee, thank you so much for joining us today from your beautiful guest room in your house, which really, it's great. You could do a lot of videos in there and everything else. So
I know it's gonna happen. You're gonna.
I gotta work on this.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so
Hailee,
much.
thank you so much. Bye.